Godzilla versus the public domain. Hey comic freaks, and welcome back to Dangerous Comics. I'm your host, Dane Georges, and today we're looking at Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theatre by Tom Scioli. Now, this was very recently published by IDW. I wanted to highlight this because this is a really fun comic, and I think if you love any of Tom's other work, you're going to love this. It's really just the amalgamation of everything that Tom Scioli loves. He's got a little bit of Jack Kirby in there, with just the inventiveness. We have that here on the cover as he's using Godzilla swapped in instead of the Mole Man's monster bursting from the ground. And Tom Scioli has drawn that before a few times. We've got it in a panel here in his Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, as well as drawing it in Fantastic Four Grand Design, and really doing his riff on Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but with Godzilla. So it's all of this public domain kind of IP characters that are now free up to use. We've got H.G. Wells's The Time Machine or The Time Machinist. We have The Great Gatsby. We have Sherlock Holmes. And who's this guy going to be? We're going to find out later, so stay tuned. Obviously, spoilers abound for this issue. I'm going to flip through and just do some general commentary, but I really like this issue and I wanted to give you guys the heads up. If this wasn't on your radar, it definitely should be, and I want you guys to make sure you pick up issue 1 and 2. So show Tom some support on this. It's a lot of fun. But we start out with just the general story of the Great Gatsby. So Gatsby's kind of like our view into this story. He's kind of like, if anyone's the protagonist besides Godzilla, it's him. But we get Gatsby's story as he goes off to war, leaves Daisy, and then we cut to the roaring 1920s. He's got this mansion, having some big parties. All these flappers are over there, and they're doing the Charleston contest, dancing, everyone's partying, but Gatsby's nowhere to be seen as he's looking over at the light, the green light over the waters. Gatsby's house is now emitting a blue flame to their green, and then it starts to be a red-hot flame as everything's on fire, and we get the ominous eyes of Godzilla appearing in the mansion window. It really kind of posing Godzilla in a cool way for this 1920s world. We don't have cameras readily available or any documentation like that, so it is kind of going off of everyone's word, and everyone kind of just sees Godzilla initially. They view him more of this natural disaster. Gatsby jumps in his boat with his sidekick, and they are going to go check on Daisy. I love the scale here of the mouth and everything. Really great cartooning, great storytelling here. I love how we're getting some full body shots here of Daisy. Love how his fin scales look more just like rocks. But he smashes the water and it flips the boat upside down. I love that. Then as they're upside down, we see them upside down in the panel. And then they get an awesome flipped perspective of Godzilla as he's going back under the water. And we just see the eyes staring back. And then Gatsby falls into the water, his ship a wreck, and Daisy's gone. But also just still, we got a little glimpse of him. They did see Godzilla and his tail, and she just said, "Gee whiz," and got smacked. But still kind of having to convince people that this monster was real. They then go to get Thomas Edison's help, definitely grounding it in the time, but still in this fictional world. And I think that's kind of something that Alan Moore did in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as well. Which League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is a story by Alan Moore with Kevin O'Neill. Features some popular fictional characters like the Invisible Man, this woman who is from Dracula, Jekyll and Hyde, Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So using some popular fiction, also using James Bond, Sherlock Holmes, but kind of creating this interwoven story of how other fictional character universes could kind of collide, but also incorporate some real world into that, so kind of grounding them into a time period. Most of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen stories do take place in a specific time period and kind of jump around. Great panel here as Godzilla is picking up the railway train, and then his teeth coming in through the windows to kill everybody. Oh man, it's pretty scary. And I love how the only colors on this page are red and blue and then black, and then the white of the page being his teeth and his claws. Another amazing panel here of just Godzilla looming over the city. We then even still have horse and buggy, and these horses are freaking out. Really well-drawn horse. We have Godzilla doing more atomic breath, setting everything on fire. Everyone's out there trying to put the fire out, and then also trying to blast Godzilla, and he's just dragging everyone around. Gatsby's partner here, who is Daisy's cousin, is over here saving a cat like a true hero. Awesome shot of Godzilla just stomping through the street, all the cars just swerving around. I like how our main character here is in a red car, so we can kind of follow him as he's amongst all the blue. Godzilla's still on the rampage. Awesome drawing where it's just like everything's being illuminated by the red. But now Godzilla is getting some shots fired back at him, and we see that it's Jack Gatsby in the G-Force. So he's used his money and Einstein's wits to put together an army to fight Godzilla. It could be the Godzilla force or, the Gatsby force. And they're shooting him down and chasing him back into the water. Nick makes it back with the cat, but he's not doing okay. He needs a medic. So Tom, I'm going to link this down below, but Tom also did a 2-episode series about this other Godzilla pitch that he did that did not get approved. So he's been working on some Godzilla ideas before this finally came to fruition. The guy loves Godzilla. I think he had a similar sequence like this in the old version. It's really such a strong visual. They think they're coming toward an iceberg, and then all of a sudden it's raising higher and higher. It's not an iceberg, it's Godzilla, and then he breaks the ship in half. And man, this is such a fun transition, and the eyes are so demented. Definitely not really posing Godzilla as like the hero that sometimes he is in other interpretations. He's much more a monster here. And we go to England. So Godzilla traveled all the way across the ocean, and I love just the cartoony little like cloud shapes for these sheep. But we set the scene, and then we see Sherlock Holmes in the center of this gigantic Godzilla footprint. The game is afoot. Gatsby gets to Sherlock Holmes, and he ends up in his classic Baker Street apartment, and he sets him up with a better connection. He says, your Gatsby force isn't up to the task. Your technology is formidable, but is conventional war surplus. You'll need something decidedly unconventional. And so he's saying that Edison's not going to be able to help him enough. He needs to go to somebody else. He says, take this. And he sends him to the writer, Jules Verne, but he's a cyborg. So this is the guy who wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Around the World in 80 Days. But Tom is recasting him as like this actual eccentric inventor, like his character Captain Nemo, and he actually has this gigantic submarine as well. But he goes down and he's going to get some plans from him, but he doesn't want to work with this guy, so he has to go find somebody else. We see this chimney sweep going home when all of a sudden Big Ben is just cut right in half, and we see Godzilla just smashing double-decker buses into each other, and we see that now Sherlock Holmes has no hope but to get involved, and he's knocking another bridge down. He's just targeting all these bridges. Really fun shot as he's blasting into this building and all of the atomic fire is pouring out of every window. So he's putting so much energy in there it can't even be contained. Then we have North London, and we see there's somebody watching this mayhem, someone from afar, and it can only be Count Dracula. So expect some Dracula in the upcoming issue, so that'll be a lot of fun. Godzilla versus Dracula. More pilots coming by. We actually have Victor Yeats, who was a World War I hero. And then, damn, we get to this freaking money shot. Great coloring of just the whole city being red, all the planes, everyone going down being red, then Godzilla being this blue-green above everyone. Oh, it looks amazing. Really sells some scale. We turn the page and we see that the Times is running a story about London in ruins after monster attack. And Sherlock Holmes is saying, I've already read it. And then all of a sudden, there is a disturbance as the time machinist appears. This is H.G. Wells' character from The Time Machine. And he comes to say, Holmes, Gatsby, I came back to stop the devastation of London. Used the last bit of fuel for my sputtering time machine to come back before it happened. And now I'm stranded in this strange era. He says, have we met, old boy? I came from the future. I've seen it all. Forget your plans. It's only going to make matters worse. Much worse. Destruction on a global scale, the likes of which mankind has never known. I thought I could repeat the past and do things differently, but it's impossible. It can't be done. Can't repeat the past. Why, of course you can. End of Act 1. Also, this is a big moment for Gatsby, because this is a big character thing for Gatsby, is that he wants to live in the past. He thinks he can make the past happen again and bring Daisy back to him. So he's going to show the time machinist that you can repeat the past. Awesome look at what's to come in issue 2. We have Godzilla underwater swimming toward this submarine with the Gatsby Force or Godzilla Force G on there. I love how it's got the spikes on the tail of it. But we see that we have in this submarine, we have Sherlock Holmes, the Great Gatsby, Jules Verne, Cyborg, and the Time Machinist. So Dracula's not there yet, but we're getting the team together. Cool look at the other covers that were available. I got this Fantastic Four one, but I really do like that take on the cover of Great Gatsby. And down here we have Godzilla versus Gatsby. Jim Rugg did an amazing screen print inspired cover. So cool. I really love the typesetting, using like old block letter forms to do that. And then Jim Mahfood did an amazing cover as well. And we end on this ad for Godzilla War for Humanity. I really love this series. I think this is a series that I'm going to have to take a look at on the channel. It's got such a great creative team of Andrew McLean and Jake Smith. Andrew McLean is known for Headlopper and a bunch of other work, and he's writing and works just really dynamically with Jake. Such a fun style, really fun Godzilla story. So I'd highly recommend checking out both this Godzilla War for Humanity and Godzilla Monsterpiece Theatre. We're living in a great time for Godzilla content. I'm so happy that Tom got to finally do a Godzilla project and that IDW is printing Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theatre. This was a ton of fun. It just wears all of its influences on its sleeve, and I'm here for it. I can't wait for issue 2, and I hope you guys are right there with me. And in the meantime, if you're looking to check out some more comics, why not check out some of mine? I'm a self-published cartoonist, and you can check out all my work at DaneGeorges.com. I have a series called Doomskull, which is about an ex-supervillain that works in the grocery store with his minion Bag Boy. I've got 3 printed issues of that with a 4th on the way. I also have X-Ray, which is a collection of my 4-panel webcomics that I would post on Instagram, Webtoons, and Tapastic. I also have been doing more zines where I'm printing black and white stories, some of them horror, some of them comedy, a little bit of everything. Passenger is about picking up a hitchhiker, and of course, it's not really the best decision. Sleepless Sights, which is about a cat running out of an apartment, and as the guy hunts his cat down, he just runs into the weirdest things you could find in your apartment complex. And ending with Jiggly-Bub, which is a new zine that I've done about a piece of gum that God spits out and lands on Earth. So you can find all that and much, much more at DaneGeorges.com. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. And if you're still watching, just know I really appreciate you. If you haven't, consider subscribing. I post a new episode every week, so you're bound to find something that you enjoy. And until next week, remember to think and read dangerously.